I never thought my quiet little hobby would turn my life completely upside down. It all started with a simple birthday gift, a metal detector. My wife thought it would be a fun way for me to get out of the house, explore the woods around our little countryside cabin. For a while, that's exactly what it was. I'd spend weekends combing the forest floor, my headphones buzzing with anticipation. Mostly, I found junk. Old bottle caps, rusty nails, the occasional lost coin from the 70s. It was peaceful, a modern-day treasure hunt where the real prize was just the quiet solitude. But one Saturday, everything changed. I was sweeping a patch of ground I'd somehow missed before, down by an old gnarled oak tree that looked like it had been there for centuries. The detector started screaming in my ears, a high-pitched, steady tone that told me this was something different. Something big. My heart started pounding. I dropped to my knees and started digging carefully with my little trowel. A few inches down, I hit something hard, not a rock. It was metal. Gently, I brushed the dirt away and saw the corner of a small, iron-bound chest. It was old, seriously old, and heavy. It took me the better part of an hour to wrestle it out of the ground. I was covered in dirt, sweat dripping down my face, but I didn't care. I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. I hauled the chest back to the cabin, my mind racing with possibilities. Gold? Jewels? Pirate treasure? Probably just more rusty nails, I told myself, trying to manage my expectations. Back at the cabin, I carefully worked on the lock. It was rusted shut, but after some work with a hammer and a chisel, it finally gave way with a groan. I lifted the heavy lid, holding my breath. Inside, there was no gold, no jewels. Instead, neatly wrapped in oilcloth was a leather-bound journal, a tarnished silver compass, and a rolled-up piece of parchment that looked like a map. My initial flicker of disappointment was quickly replaced by a wave of intense curiosity. The journal's pages were brittle, filled with elegant, looping handwriting. The ink was faded, but still legible. It was the diary of a man named Captain Thomas Strickland, dated 1781. My hands trembled as I read the first entry. He wasn't a pirate. He was a soldier in the Revolutionary War. He wrote about the hardships of the campaign, the bitter cold, the constant hunger. He wrote about his loyalty to General Washington and his dream of a new free nation. I was holding a piece of history in my hands, a real, tangible connection to a time I'd only ever read about in books. According to his entries, Captain Strickland was entrusted with a critical mission, to transport a payroll for the Continental Army. But he was being pursued by British spies. Fearing capture, he buried the chest, not containing the payroll itself, but something he considered even more valuable. He wrote, "Should I fall, let this map guide a true patriot. The future of our cause may depend on it," the map. It wasn't a treasure map in the traditional sense. It was a route, marked with coded symbols and riddles, leading to the hidden payroll. I spent the next week completely obsessed. I cross-referenced the map with modern satellite imagery and old historical charts I found online. The first clue was a riddle in the journal, where the stoic giant weeps granite tears. I looked at the map. There was a drawing of a rock formation. After hours of searching online forums for local geology, I found it. A local landmark known as Weeping Rock, a cliff face where water constantly trickles down, about 20 miles from my cabin. The next weekend, I packed a bag, my metal detector, and Captain Strickland's journal. I drove out to Weeping Rock, my stomach in knots. This felt crazy. I was following a 240-year-old map on a wild goose chase, but I had to know. The next clue on the map was the symbol of two crossed swords next to the rock formation. The journal explained, "At the place of the duel, look to the setting sun and walk 100 paces. A duel? How was I supposed to find that? I spent hours searching the area around Weeping Rock. Nothing. Just as I was about to give up, my detector beeped. It was a weak signal, but it was there. I dug and unearthed a rusted, pitted piece of metal. It was the broken tip of a sword. I actually shouted out loud. This was it, the place of the jewel. I waited until the sun began to dip towards the horizon, aligned myself with its direction, and began to pace. 100 steps led me to a small, almost hidden cave entrance, concealed by a thicket of overgrown bushes. Inside the cave, it was damp and dark. my flashlight beam cut through the gloom. Etched into the back wall was another symbol from the map, a key. Beneath it, a small loose stone. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I pulled the stone out, and in the hollow behind it, I found another small oilcloth-wrapped package. This one contained a heavy, ornate iron key and a single folded piece of paper. The paper had another riddle. I have a mouth but never speak, a bed but never sleep. Find my house to claim your prize. A river. The answer was a river. The key must be for a lockbox hidden somewhere along the river mentioned in the Captain's journal, the Serpent Us Coil, which I identified as the modern-day Black Creek. The final location on the map was marked with a simple X, right where the creek made a sharp hairpin turn. This was the home stretch. The following day, I was at the hairpin turn of Black Creek. The water was shallow here. Armed with my detector, I waded in. For what felt like an eternity, I found nothing. The sun was high, beating down on me. I was tired, muddy, and starting to feel ridiculous. Was this all just an elaborate fantasy? Then, a loud, solid signal blared in my ears. It was coming from beneath a large, flat rock in the middle of the stream. It took all my strength, but I managed to shift the rock, and there it was. A second, smaller lockbox chained to the bedrock. It was crusted with age and river sediment, but the keyhole was clear. With a shaking hand, I inserted the old iron key. It turned with a satisfying click. I lifted the lid. Inside, resting on a bed of faded velvet, were stacks of colonial currency, the Continental Army payroll. But that wasn't the most incredible part. Beneath the money was a set of letters. Personal letters written by General George Washington himself, addressed to Captain Strickland. They spoke of strategy, of hope, of the immense burden of leadership. They were intimate, human, and historically priceless. I stood there, knee-deep in a creek in the middle of the woods, holding correspondence from the first president of the United States. My little metal detecting hobby had led me on an adventure through time. It wasn't about finding gold or getting rich. It was about connecting with the past, about uncovering a story of bravery and sacrifice that had been silent for over 2 centuries. I contacted a local historical society, and to say they were excited is the understatement of the century. They authenticated everything. The journal, the map, the letters, it was all real. Captain Strickland, they discovered, had been captured and died in a British prison camp, his secret dying with him, until now. His story, and the incredible artifacts he left behind, are now a cherished part of our local museum, a testament to a hidden chapter of our nation's history. Sometimes I still go out with my metal detector. I still find bottle caps and rusty nails. But now, every beep sends a little thrill through me, because I know that just beneath the surface, hidden under layers of dirt and time, there are incredible stories waiting to be discovered. You just have to be willing to dig a little. Thanks for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures. See you next time.